Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another weekly edition of the show live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Should be a fun one because, goddamn, not only did we have like another great Canelo performance, and everyone knows I watched the show. I'm a Canelo stan. I'm hyped. You all know me. Like when one of like Gary's boys win, you know how Gary's all hyped? I'm hyped today. And not only that, we had by far the best press conference moment in years. So I cannot wait to play that clip and I'll laugh at that. Plus, we have some great fights coming up this weekend. I should say a great main event coming up this weekend. And Nery versus Brandon Figueroa, one of Gary's boys. So really excited to break that one down. A little bit of a slow news cycle, but a lot of fights again, too. So without further ado, let me get to my co-host, the one and only Gary in Dallas, who was in attendance for this show. Gary, how are you, and how was the event?
Oh, the event was amazing. There was 73,000. First off, I want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife. We celebrate 9 years of marriage. I can't believe she stuck around for 9 years tomorrow.
Congrats, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yes. That's commitment right there.
I tell her she married poorly.
At least you're honest, man. That's all you have to be.
I married much better than she did. But the event was incredible. There was somewhere like between. They said they had set up the weigh-in for 5,000, and they said they had maybe another 5,000 in overflow, 10,000 at a weigh-in outside. I don't know, but there was a ton of people there, and then 73,126 for the fight is incredible. And I mean, the atmosphere. The only thing I can compare to any fight I went to as a fan to when Cotto fought at Yankee Stadium, the day before the Puerto Rican Day Parade. And that was phenomenal. But this was inside with literally twice as many people. That had 30-something. This had 73. I've never seen anything like it before. And, then I had a bunch of drunk Brit fans, which they're fun. Shout out to drunk British people because they have a sense of humor. They're fun people. The event was phenomenal, and then Canelo's performance, and a lot of people weren't impressed with it. I thought it was great, but we'll get into that. But the event was phenomenal. Yeah. I was talking to Carl Froch right on the way to the fight, and I said, "So how many people were in attendance when you knocked out George Groves?" He goes, "More than's going to be at this." That was outdoors though.
Oh, that was great. We definitely could tell the amount of the attendance, right? Like, you can hear it across TV. Like, I know obviously you were there. I don't know if you've gone back and watched it on your TV yet.
I watched the main event again, but that's all I rewatched.
It's booming. Like, maybe it's because we haven't had like any decent crowd in boxing for like a year. But this, you could feel it, coming across television.
I was there for Spence, the hometown guy, against Mikey, who's still an icon to Mexican and Mexican-American boxing fans. And this blows that away. That wasn't even close to this. This was another level.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, what do you want to make of the fight itself, the main event? I mean, Canelo defeating Billy Joe Saunders via, what was it, the 6th round?
8th.
7th round? 8th round?
8th round.
I had it up here in a second ago. I lost it. Oh, yes, 8th round. I
thought Billy Joe was doing as well as he could. Mm-hmm. I really was. I was, I thought Billy had lost most of the rounds. And I know ringside, all the judges had the fight either 6-2 or 5-3, which I felt was the right score. But I know Twitter sphere and boxing media had it all over. I've seen it everywhere from 7-1 Canelo to 6-2 Saunders. I don't know how you get to 6-2 Saunders. He didn't land anything. But I thought he did as well as he could, right? Like, I thought Saunders was losing, but he was losing competitively. Right? It wasn't, Callum Smith. It wasn't Rocky Fielding. He was in the fight. He was just losing most of the rounds. Canelo boxed beautifully and then took care of business. He set him up perfectly. He went into a defensive posture to make Billy throw wide, and then he sidestepped it, countered, and threw the uppercut that broke his face in several places. Now, I want to get into the Billy thing because Billy quit. Now you could say it's justified that
we'll get to that in a second. Let me break down my thoughts on the fight. I think it was 6-2. I think I had.
I had 6-2
at the end for Canelo. I had no idea what Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora. Like, are you going back and watching now? But like, it was so bad watching it live.
I didn't change my scorecard at all. I still had a 6-2.
Yeah, you had. Yeah, it doesn't matter because it was such bad commentary that even they couldn't sway you. You know, it's not like the HBO style of commentary for the A side. They were rooting for the B side in a way that I've never seen before, and didn't make sense because they would, yell like in joyous exclamation anytime Billy Joe landed a fucking little pity pat jab or combination. But when Canelo landed these hard thudding shots, they'd be quiet. It was just really weird throughout the main event how biased the commentary was, and it didn't make sense because usually you have them towards the A side and the sort of the network favorite, and that's Canelo clearly. So it just didn't make sense to me because clearly, even though Billy Joe, like you said, was far more competitive in this fight than previous opponents for Canelo, was far more game than previous opponents for Canelo, won some rounds. Not due to, I think, Canelo inactivity, but due to his own sort of effectiveness at times as well. But he was still outmatched. He was still outgunned. He was still being outboxed. Like, even when Billy Joe would come in with the combination, a lot of that shit wasn't landing. Like, there was a lot of shots that Billy Joe missed with wide, like you said. And Canelo kept setting that up and kept landing. Canelo definitely started headhunting, though. I want to say within like rounds 2 or 3, he started headhunting. And I think that prolonged the fight because in the first 2 rounds, he was going exclusively to the body and you can tell it was working. And then he started, I think, getting a little bit frustrated with Billy Joe and started headhunting. But Billy Joe could not handle that power. I think no matter how talented of a boxer is, because he is a talented boxer, he's not ever going to be a guy that beats this type of opponent. These types of Hall of Fame, great fighters, transcendental fighters, because he's not a complete fighter. Billy Joe's a good boxer with a good lateral movement, but he's not a complete fighter.
Same thing I said about Sonny Edwards. Yes, Sonny Edwards beat Mithelane, and I was wrong. I picked Mithelane. But Sonny Edwards is still the same kind of pedigree as Billy Joe, where he does great from the outside. He's got tons of skills. Whoever taught him how to fight did a good job, but he's limited in the fact that he has no power. And he doesn't even try to establish himself. Like, I'm not saying you have to, walk your guy down, but there's certain points in the fight where you have to stand your ground, fire off of 1-2, and not just keep going backwards the whole fight, right? Like, you're going to have to stand in the pocket, deliver a shot up point, and make the guy, not just leave the front door wide open for him to come in. And Billy Joe doesn't do that. So, again, he'll beat all the B-level fighters and may make them all look bad. But when there's a guy who's complete and can come forward and put pressure on you, eventually they're going to get Billy out. And that's what I thought was going to happen. I mean, the fight kind of went the way I thought it to. I thought, the fight had turned. I thought Canelo was in control. I just didn't know Billy was going to quit like that. So I said 10, and I think if Billy hadn't quit, Canelo would have got him out in 10, right? 2 more rounds of that, and it would have been over. So the fight kind of went exactly how I thought. Billy boxed well. He was competitive, boxed with them kind of evenly through the first 4 rounds. And then you saw Canelo really is the better craftsman. He's the more, I don't want to say better craftsman because Billy's crafty, but he's the more complete fighter.
And he's the better boxer. When it comes down to like defense, who has the better defense?
I mean, you want to say Billy Joe because of his footwork, but it's Canelo. Canelo's the better defensive boxer. He is.
He was making Billy Joe miss wide with those left hands. Like,
you've never seen Billy Joe miss before. Billy Joe doesn't miss shots like by 3 feet like he was doing Canelo. You've never seen it. And I get it. A lot of Billy Joe's opponents, his recent opponents haven't been the best, right?
Yeah.
But you've never seen Billy Joe look wild and amateurs like he did in parts of that fight.
No, it was clearly levels between the 2 opponents. And that's no shot at Canelo. Canelo's facing great competition right now. But he is so much better than the competition.
Is Matt freezing up where you are?
No, I think it's you,
Matt's
Gary.
freezing up over here.
No. Gary, you have
I'll keep talking. I think it was one of Canelo's best performances. It's right there with the Caleb Smith performance. Did you freeze up?
No, Gary, I think you froze up because you have like a kissy face right now, and it's frozen up.
Let me refresh because where I was, you had just stopped. You were like,
I can
Like
hear the
someone
whole
took a
time.
still frame of you talking.
I can hear the whole time. Oh, you're back a
All right,
little bit,
let
Gary.
me refresh.
Refresh your page.
I'm going to
Gary-
refresh.
Gary is facing a lightning storm right now, so that's why he is freezing up. But don't worry, you guys got me. I cannot wait to get this Canelo video because I hope we can just like run through this Billy Joe Saunders quit topic because I don't care that much. Gary, you're back. Billy Joe Saunders quit, right?
I mean, you could say he was justified in quitting. You could say that he was looking out for the best interest of his career, but he quit. Like the ref didn't stop it, right? The doctor didn't stop it. So who stopped it? Billy Joe stopped it. Billy Joe quit. You could say
it's the same thing.
You could say we completely justified. Margarito didn't quit against Pacquiao, and he was never the same. And I know a lot of y'all like that because you hate Margarito, okay? But Margarito fought with that broken eye against Pacquiao, and his eye was never the same. So you could say Billy Joe made the only decision he could make for the betterment of his career, but he still quit.
And I think the only reason why he's getting so much shit for is because of his comments about other fighters quitting. Like, if he didn't make those comments, I don't think he would get the reaction. And let's be honest, you're like, Billy Joe's not liked. That's
what I'm saying. He wasn't liked. It's like Barry Bonds does steroids. He's the worst human being in the world. Manny does steroids. He gets busted. So we like Manny. It's okay. We like Manny Ramirez. You know, if you're likable, you get away with it. If you're an unlikable bastard like Billy Joe, like Barry Bonds, you don't really get away with it.
That is absolutely true. Do you think he's going to be, fighting again? What do you think?
Yeah, he'll be back. He wasn't really bigger than.
Oh, Gary is freezing.
He was going to be noticeably bigger, like naturally bigger guy. They looked about the same size.
Gary, are you there? Do you hear me? Gary, hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're freezing up a lot, Gary. It's okay. Shout out to the thunderstorm, right?
Let me check something. Hang on.
I'm gonna predict it's not plugged in via Ethernet, Gary.
I am now. Got unplugged somehow. That's it. Yeah. That'll do it.
Magically.
Just magically. It's plugged in, but there's like a green light, right? That flashes when it's like.
Yeah. Connected. Actually.
So somehow it got, yeah.
I think Billy Joe's gonna have a Tyson Fury-esque spiral out of control and never fight again. That's my prediction. One, he's already kind of done it before when he wasn't losing. Two, he just got a massive fucking paycheck. And three, his face was busted and broken. I don't think he's coming back.
He had one big payday, right? And he could retire off that money if he's halfway smart with it. But he's not halfway smart. I don't think. It doesn't appear that he is. And two, like, yes, he had a good payday, but he hasn't made the money Fury did when Fury spiraled out of control. I mean, as a heavyweight, Fury makes more than, I would think, than Billy Joe did.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But regardless, I mean, we've seen it before. Like, Billy Joe was how much did that dude weigh when he was in Spain and won it off? Remember that? Like, we all saw the pictures and videos. Like, him and Tyson Fury were in fat camp. Like, it's going to happen again. He's not going to be fighting for a while just due to the injury. And I think he's the type of guy to take even, like, more time off. You know, like, Inoue had a broken orbital bone, won 10 rounds against Nonito Donaire in the toughest fight of his life, and came back with within, like, 6 or 9 months?
I couldn't remember who had a broken orbital bone in that fight. Right? It was such a violent fight. I remember someone in that fight had a broken orbital bone. It was Inoue. It
was Inoue, the fucking monster. Not Berlanga, trying to steal that nickname, I see.
But Berlanga, he was at the press conference. He said, "I'm not the monster. I'm the chosen one." He said that nickname was given to me because he says he's the chosen one.
Oh, it's hilarious. Regardless, want to talk about what's next for Canelo?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, let's talk about what's definitely not happening next, though, which is Demetrius Andrade. Because that. I mean, just due to what Canelo has said, I think we can play it and listen to it. It's the best video in years.
So when can we get something going on?
Oh man! Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. I know that. Man, you fight with nobody.
You fight with nobody.
Hey, you are a champion, but what? Hey, you fight with nobody, man. You won the you won the belt with nobody, man. Get the fuck out of here, man. Please get the fuck out of here, man. It's my night.
It's my night.
Who I'm fighting?
Demetrius. Not the
Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you, man. Hey, get the fuck out of here because I'm gonna fuck you out right now, motherfucker.
Off.
Hey, you are a horrible fighter, man.
You are horrible.
You never gonna get the fight, man. You are a horrible fighter. Horrible fighter. Horrible fighter.
Dinero lo que quieres, dile, you want the money. Dile.
Payday. You want payday. I know that.
Watch your mouth, bro. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. I see you was on.
Yeah. I see you outside. Yeah, man. Fuck you.
Te vamos a sacar del hotel, cabrón.
That's a kid, man. That's a kid.
That's a kid.
Horrible fighter, man. That's it.
I mean, I think everyone loves.
Oh my God, Gary. Tell me that wasn't the best video you've seen in years.
So this is classic, right? So I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I played this whole press conference with my wife and my kid. They want, and my kids. And today my daughter goes, "You are a horrible father, horrible." I can't even get mad. I can't even be mad.
No, that's too funny. You can't get mad at that.
You're a horrible father, horrible.
Oh my God. That is hilarious. Gary, any thoughts on the video? I mean, like, I know a lot of like the Andrade fans have come out and been like, "Oh, Canelo has said he's never going to fight him," and blah blah. He's making excuses. My thought is that Andrade has literally fought no one. There are plenty of other options out there for Canelo that are more intriguing fights. So I'd rather have those fights right now. Gary, I mean, your thoughts on what's next for Canelo, it not being Andrade clearly, and it most likely being Caleb Plant in the fall for pay-per-view.
First of all, I want to get to that 1 second. I want to address this. So first of all, I told y'all Canelo speaks English just fine. His English is fine, except like when he said I broke my cheek, because like it's not his first language, so he doesn't probably know the word for orbital bone, right? Because like how would you I don't know what that word is in Italian. I have no clue. So you would say, I don't know how to say orbital bone. My wife said, I don't even know how to say orbital bone in English until now, right? Like, so he says cheek, and then people laugh at him because he broke his cheek. But like, it's not his first language. But you can see Canelo speaks perfect English. It's fine. But I would still stick to Spanish, like Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa would be at a press conference and be like, I was sitting on a 2-2 slider, and I knew he was going to throw the slider, and he left it up there, and it looked as big as a beach ball, so I crushed it. Hey, how about taking the steroid test? Oh, no English? Habla español? No English, right? So you want to keep that in your arsenal just in case it's questions you don't want to answer.
Shout out to Sammy Sosa.
He's the best. He speaks perfect English. Right? Oh yeah, he left the 2-2 slider up. Looked as big as a beach ball, so I just unloaded on it. How about steroids? No English? No español? No? Oh, right? No say. It's like you just spoke perfect English for the last 5 minutes.
But I mean, I'm assuming you're like me. You're cool with him not fighting Demetrius Andrade, him facing Caleb Plant. I know there's some out there that are saying that Caleb Plant's also nobody that's fought no one. My rebuttal to that is that Caleb Plant has proven to be a bigger draw in today's age and today's time than Andrade. 2, Caleb Plant with half the amount of fights, you can argue has a better win. Like, you can make the argument. Like, Andrade's best win is Vance Martin-Rosen. Caleb Plant's best win is Jose Foogatti. Like, it's an argument there. Like, it's apples and apples, to be quite honest. And one's the bigger draw. One is a path to U.S. pay-per-view again.
So there's a couple of things, right? I would say, right? There's a couple of reasons why he would fight Canelo. Canelo would fight Plant. A, because Plant has the only belt that Canelo doesn't.
True.
B, because Andre doesn't even fight that weight class at this point, right? 3, Caleb Plant's a bigger draw. And 4, Caleb Plant's a better fighter. So I think of all those things, yes, I'm fine with it. And I picked Caleb Plant to beat Canelo. I don't really, right? But like, if someone's going to beat you, put a gun in my head and say, who Canelo loses, who beats him? Plant, right? Everyone's saying Benavidez. Benavidez is going to beat him up on the inside. How's Benavidez going to beat him? I don't see Benavidez at all. I think Canelo stops Benavidez. So I got to pick someone. I'll pick Plant. Do you really think Plant's going to win? I mean, probably not. But like the same way when I picked the Heat to beat the Lakers in the championship, do you really think the Heat are going to win? I'm not really, but they're good. So I'm going to pick the Heat. I'm going to pick Caleb Plant because he's really good. I don't really think he's going to win, though.
Oh, my God. I'm dead, Gary.
When I'm wrong, I'm like, I didn't really think it's going to win. But if I'm right, then I'm a genius.
So good. I don't think anyone at 168 beats Canelo. I don't think anyone at 160 beats Canelo.
No, that's 60s.
The only real test is probably if that, because he talked about this. I know this after the fight about going up to 175 and trying to clean up that division too and getting on the belts there after he becomes undisputed at 168. That might be a harder road just because of better beef. But even then, I mean, Canelo is probably the betting favorite against anyone at 175 too. Like, gun to your head, yeah, you might pick one or two guys that might beat him, but Canelo is still the favorite against the field.
You're not going to pick Bivol to beat him after the Richards fight, right? So,
and you know me, I've never been a Bivol like.
And I'm a Bivol fan, and I thought, okay, Bivol is a good matchup, and I can't pick. Bivol's not going to beat him. The only guy he's about 75. Joe Smith's not going to beat him. Although, I mean, Joe Smith always has a punch of chance, especially against a much smaller guy. But Joe Smith's not going to beat Canelo, right? So the only guy is Benavidez. I do think Benavidez would beat him because he's simply too big for him. What I would rather see is just watch Canelo's. This is Canelo's now, third weight class in which he's dominated. I know he fought at 147, but this is the third weight class that he's dominated. Just stay at 175. Just stay at 168 and just clean out the division for the next 5 years. And just be the best super middleweight ever. Andre will come up. You're going to have David Morrell in the not-so-distant future who looks to be superb, right? I mean, look, these aren't the biggest fights in the world, but you're super middleweight. You can't really go any bigger than that. So just stay, and you'll have Triple G come up, right? And guys will come up to fight you. So stay at 68 and be the greatest 168-pounder ever. And that's your legacy.
Yes and no. I mean, let's be honest. Right now, light heavyweight, there's only 3 guys that hold belts. So he could,
and it's about to be 2 because the other guys are going to fight each other. Smith's going to fight Better Beef.
True. So there's going to be 2 really soon. I could see him having a little 2-fight venture at light heavyweight and winning those fights.
I can't see him being Better Beef. He's too big. There's weight classes for a reason.
But Better Beef is a guy that's up and down in performances.
He is.
He is not consistent. He's also a guy that's far older than Canelo, even though he has far less fight experience in the pros.
He's really old. Like, he's like 34.
Yes.
Yeah, he's much older than you think for guys that have 17, 18 fights or whatever.
And while both guys definitely pack power, only one of them has shown to be chinny at times. And that's Better Beef. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, had to sneeze there. I think that, like I said, Bivol, I don't think Bivol can win. Even if somebody asked, I think, who was it? Was it Chris? No, it was Marcos. Marcos in the chat saying, how about Bivol going to 168? Well, I do think that's better for Bivol's career.
Yeah.
I don't think he beats Canelo now that he's at 168. I don't think that's any advantage for him, to be quite honest. I just don't see anyone giving him that issue right now. Like Jamal Charlo, Benavidez, Triple G in a trilogy. Like, name anyone. Like, none of them provide that threat to Canelo. So it has to be accumulation, like you say. He has to go on this run where he just beats all these guys. At the end of it, when he's 35 years old, he can say he beat, Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, Triple G again, Jamal Charlo, Better Beef, Bivol, and just list all those names out, and then he'll be an all-time great already. I mean, he already is, but even more so after he has that run.
What I'm saying is he's already got a claim to be one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 best junior middleweights ever. Then he was a great middleweight who beat Canelo. Look at the junior middleweight division. The history's not great because it's usually like a skip over division. He's got a great resume at 54. Then he dethroned Triple G.
Jamal Charlo might have a better resume.
Jamal Charlo is one of them. Terry Norris is one of them. Like, there's a couple of guys, but there's actually Floyd Mayweather is one of them too. Even though he only fought there 3 times, but it was Cotto, Canelo, and Oscar. Those 3 good wins. But there's only 3 fights. It's good. It's good. then he beat Triple G at 160. He ended that run, and then the greatest super middleweight of all time. Let's say he says, and does what we say. He's got. I mean, that's quite a legacy you built together there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's an amazing legacy. You did what Hagler did at 160, but in your third division, right? Hagler stayed at one division his whole career and dominated that division. I want to say is Canelo can have a run like that after already dominating two other divisions. So that would mean Canelo is ahead of Hagler all the time, as I would see it.
If he goes on that run, he's going to be ahead of a lot of people all the time.
That's what I'm saying. And the conversation of where he ranks amongst the all-time great Mexican fighters, that list is getting shorter and shorter. I know there's always going to be people who say Chavez. Salvador Sanchez is an asterisk because he died at 24. Do you already put him ahead of Barrera and Morales? Maybe. Look at his resume. His resume is crazy.
No, absolutely. Let's move on from that unless you have any other thoughts on Canelo and Blazer Saunders. What's next, Canelo? Any more thoughts?
It's going to be planned. The only thing is it with Eddie Hearn? Somebody asked him that question at the press conference. It looked like a ghost. It's like, that's a conversation we have to have.
Chris Mannix in the post fight in the ring, he was like, now I forget who said it, but like now going to the guy that can determine what's next for Canelo. There's no contract in place between the two.
Yeah.
Even though they both voiced that they want to continue working together, there is no contract in place between the two. And the idea of Canelo skipping out on a Fox pay-per-view revenue stream, to me, just seems preposterous. There's no way Canelo skips out on that, right?
No, I don't think so. I would say that Eddie Hearn says, I'll broker the deal, but it's another 2 or 3 fight deal so that he keeps Canelo with them after that fight. Let's go in Fox, and then I got you for twice more on the zone after this pay-per-view. But I think that it's going to be a Fox pay-per-view in September, and that Canelo's going to sign at least a 2, most likely a 3-fight deal with Eddie Hearn. Because he does seem like working with Eddie.
He does seem to like it, yeah, for sure. But Eddie Hearn being the key to Canelo's next fight just seems preposterous to think at this point in time. I think he's just there to help dot some I's and some, cross some T's. Moving on to the rest of the card, Elwin Soto defeated Katsunori Takayama via TKO in a controversial finish. We're going to get to that. Also, Kieran Conway losing to Suleiman Sissoko in a really, actually entertaining fight between two prospects, right? I know you got to take a picture with Conway. He seemed like a good fighter and a good guy. Also, Frank Sanchez picking up a win against Aguilera, which, I mean, another red catch moment.
Can we kind of get into all this? I want to talk about...
we can get into all. I just want to list it all so we can put it on the table. And Keyshawn Davis also picking up a win against Jose Meza. That seemed like a tough... I only saw the last couple rounds. It seemed like a competitive fight, I'll say. It seemed like Keyshawn Davis never seemed like he was comfortable in there. And Mark Castro obliterated his opponent, Irving Castillo, as well. I did not see the Kelvin Davis fight also.
That was untelevised. He got... he nearly got stopped with 30 seconds left. He got up with like 20 seconds left and just held on. He dominated the first three rounds in 2 minutes, and he got nailed, and he ran out the clock. That's Dominique. That's Gerald Wilk. That's Billy Ripken. That's the lesser. Now, if you believe Keyshawn Davis, he said the youngest brother, Keon Davis, is the best of the bunch. So we'll see when he turns pro. But the other Davis brother, Kelvin, is that how you say it?
Yes, Kelvin. I believe it's Kelvin.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, you can see he's got skills and stuff, but he's not that good.
Now, what do you want to get into specifically with the undercard? Do you want to get into the Frank Sanchez and Aguilera?
Yeah, let's start with that. Because I got thoughts on Elon Musk, Mark Castro. This looks like his son, doesn't it? The similarities are striking. Let's start with Frank Sanchez. I wasn't overly impressed with Sanchez, but I wouldn't, in his previous fights either. I know that's Eddie Reynoso's boy, right? Eddie, he's in that camp, and that's why he gets on these cards. I got to talk to him. He's massive, but I don't see it. And then
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Aguilar,
Who's the top ranked guy? Prospect, heavyweight prospect.
Jared Anderson.
Yeah, I'm way more high on him than
Oh
Frank Sanchez.
yeah, by far.
Yeah.
I mean, Sanchez has a good jab, and like we've seen with Joyce, I guess a good jab can take you, but there's not much there. His jab's not as good as Joyce's, although he has a good jab. He needs to use it a little more. But I mean, I don't see anything that says Sanchez is even going to be a top 10 heavyweight, and being a top 10 heavyweight isn't that great, But I don't see that potential. And Aguilar, that was ridiculous. I don't know how you're a professional fighter. You get paid. That's your living. That's your career. And then you quit like that. The shot to the back of the head, maybe, if I'm being generous, grazed him. Right? Like, there's a famous moment in the NBA playoffs where John Starks headbutts Reggie Miller because Reggie Miller's chatting in his ear, right? And Reggie Miller said, it didn't hurt. I just couldn't believe he did it. So I went ahead and acted like a bus hit me, right? And Dale Davis, who was on the page at the time, said, I'm surprised he didn't have like packets of ketchup and right? I felt like that's what Aguilar did. Like when it happened at live speed, it's like he's not hurt. And then they showed it over and over again in replay. And I know there's no replay in Texas, right? That they would go back to. But that was ridiculous. That was absurd. Like,
yeah, it was bad.
Why would you do that? Like he should. I'm not saying they shouldn't pay him. I'm saying he should be docked some of his pay because he quit. That was ridiculous.
I don't know which one's worse, to be honest, because I think the red catch one was far more obvious that it was a phantom shot, right? Like it didn't hit him at all. Like it hit the air. Like it didn't connect it like even to like the side of his like stomach. Like nothing connected. This one it hit his shoulder, right? And it kind of bounced behind his head. That's about it. But let's be honest here. Red Catch just like writhered on the ground and then like ran away. Aguilera was yelling, man. He was going after the ref, going after everyone. He was going to fight the ref, and he took the dive. Like that to me probably makes it more hilarious or egregious. I don't know what's the right adjective, because it was just such an affront that he took the dive and then like had the fuck you, man. Like how dare you not like disqualify him? And I'm so happy that in both cases, the two guys that took the dive lost.
But
like,
yeah, it's an accidental foul, so it's not an intentional foul, and it's the first one. So he's not going to get disqualified. Like, I don't know what these fighters think, but you're not getting the W, right? It depends. The unified rules of boxing say that it would go to it would be a technical knockout. Now, this isn't a title fight, so it would be under the auspices of the commission. So it's either going to be a knockout or a technical decision. But you're not getting the win on an accidental foul, only on an intentional foul. Or if he's disqualified for repeated accidental fouls, like if it's the 10th low blow in a row, like Riddick Bowe, then he can disqualify him. But on the first one, you're not getting a disqualification when it's an accidental foul. Same as a headbutt. Right? Like if you can't continue because of a headbutt, you don't win.
I don't know, man. I don't know what these fighters were thinking. Let's talk about the co-main event, though. Ellen Soto versus Takayama. That was a fantastic fight. Takayama, a 5-time champion. I think the first Japanese fighter to be undisputed, right, in the 4-belt era.
Yeah.
Right? I believe that's what it was.
He won at 105, the smallest weight class.
Yeah. Fought Roman Gonzalez years and years ago. I mean, a true legend in the sport. And he showed up here because Ellen Soto in the first 2 rounds looked like he was going to catch a body. Like it was bad. And Takayama just hung in there, man. Got back on his bike, launched the jab, worked off it quite well, and was really competitive throughout, even though I'll be honest, I'm not as upset about the stoppage.
I wasn't upset about it at all. Now, like where I was, half the people thought it was outrageous. And this is the ref is Dickie Cole's Lawrence Cole, who let the Pacquiao Margarito fight go on, and he's always blamed for letting fights go on, letting people beat each other to death. He also got suspended after he told Juan Manuel Marquez in Houston that that's an accidental headbutt. If we go to the scorecard, you're winning. Like, it got picked up live on HBO. It's like, you can't say that. Like, the camera's picked it up. It's like, you can't even deny you said it. But so he always gets faulted for letting fights go on way too long. And now he's getting faulted for stopping a fight too quickly. I was fine with it. It was a weird point to stop the fight. but it could have been stopped earlier, in my opinion. Like, he was being beaten down. I agree that the stoppage, I don't think it was early. It was just a weird point in time to stop it because he had just landed a left hook. Right? Like, it was a weird point to stop it.
There were several points in the fight where they could have stopped it on the feet, and it would have made more sense. Absolutely. But I just thought Takayama was just taking way too much damage in there. While he was definitely more competitive and Soto definitely gassed out, Soto was still landing enough shots, still throwing enough shots, and still hurting him with every shot. And that was the big factor there for me, that Takayama was taking way too much unnecessary damage at that age when he doesn't need to be doing that. I understand why people like Sergio Mora was super upset about it, but in my opinion, I thought it was fine. I'd rather see guys not take unnecessary damage when clearly they're not going to win.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't going to win the fight.
He wasn't. He was losing every round still, pretty much. He may have won 1 or 2 rounds at that time, but he was still getting beat up. There was 10-8 rounds in there, and he never went down. That's how dominating those first 2 or 3 rounds were. We can get probably the first 2 or 3 rounds, all 10-8 rounds, and there's not a knockdown in that, in those rounds. That's how dominant and destructive they were. Can't wait to see what's next for Elwin Soto, though, man. That guy is a ball of violence, man. Like Julio Cesar Martinez, just an all violence, all action fighter in the low weight classes. I love it.
Step in with Bam Rodriguez. Let's get it on.
What are your thoughts on Keyshawn Davis versus Mark Castro? That'd be a good fight. It won't happen, obviously.
Castro beat him 3. Castro beat Keyshawn Davis 3 times in the amateurs, and he was asked about the rivalry, and Castro goes, "It's 3-0. It's not a rivalry." A rivalry kind of implies that it goes back and forth, right? It's not a rivalry. I beat him 3 times. And then Davis went up and fought another weight class, and Davis went on, and Castro turned pro a little earlier. Right now, if they fought today, I think Castro beats him. But I think Davis's upside is higher. Castro's really good, but I think Davis still has a lot of things to work on. He's still more of a work in progress. They're both obviously really early in their career. But if I was drafting for the future, I'm taking Davis. If I'm drafting right now, just for today, I think Castro would beat him. Davis, for as good as he is on his feet, walks in, he just leaves the front door wide open. You know what I'm saying? When he uses his angles, he's incredible. He just stops and will just stand in the pocket with you for a while, right? Don't do that, right? You don't need to do that. He's so good. He just needs to sharpen his skills a little bit. But you can see he's a rhythm fighter. When he gets in his rhythm, he's unstoppable. But I don't think he's really figured out who he is as a fighter yet, where Castro has. That's why if fought today, I'd pick Castro. Big picture-wise, I would lean towards Keyshawn.
Let's be honest, Gary. As a Figueroa fanboy, you gotta love Mark Castro style.
Absolutely, I love Castro.
It's exciting. I think both guys are gonna be something. I'll be honest. I think both guys are super talented. I can't
believe Castro's a 130-pounder. I stood next to him. He's huge. I thought he was a 147-pounder. No, it's 130. He's short a little bit, right? But he's built like a tank. His legs, he's got these heavy legs. If he can stay at 130, that guy's gonna be a force there.
Hold on, Gary. I'm trying to find something here. I think I found it. Hold on, I'm trying to find the lighter. Hold on.
There you go.
I'm sorry. At the studio, which, by the way, anyone out there in LA, if you want to record music or podcast or live stream, hit me up on social media. Hourly rates, monthly rates, whatever you want. Anyways, Mark Castro, a.k.a. Elon Musk, illegitimate son. Totally off topic there. Are you invested into, or were you invested into Dogcoin is what I'm going to call it?
No. If you want to have a cryptocurrency conversation, I think there are better avenues for those smaller. If you want to dump a ton of money into Dogcoin, it's probably a good investment. If you're looking to just, make a constant investment into smaller cryptocurrency, I think there are better cryptocurrencies to put your money in.
Interesting. Digressing from that, Gary, what else do we have to talk about on this card? Is that it for this card?
Yeah,
right.
I mean that's pretty much it.
Let's talk about the Liam Smith Kurbanov fight very briefly, which was on Friday. That was a really good fight too.
It was. I just watched it this morning because it was Friday. It was the weigh-in. I missed it, so I just watched it this morning, and I watched the fight before that too, the co-main.
And I know, it's obviously going to get swept under the rug because it's Canelo Fight Week and such. But that was a really entertaining scrap. I thought Liam Smith arguably won that. I'll be honest. I think I scored it for him. But Kurbanov, he's probably going to be one of those prospects that is going to stay around the top 15, top 20-ish range, in my opinion. I don't think it's ever going to break in that top 10, top 5. But going to be a fun fighter. Gary, any other thoughts on the Friday main event in Russia?
No, I thought it was a really good fight. And it was two guys who are fundamentally pretty good, right? Don't have a ton of power, don't have a ton of speed, and don't have a ton of next level skills, but two good fighters, two B-level fighters who, I mean, this is the level that they're at. I know Beefy won a world title, which I don't. Who did he beat? It had to be a vacant belt, right? I mean, he didn't win a world title on merit, did he?
Oh, I have it up here on merit. But he lost it to Canelo, obviously,
Which is fine, and he lost in a war to Munguia, right? That's fine, but I mean,
it was a vacant belt against John Thompson.
See, he was the world champion. You can't ever take it away from him. But like, he's not really a top 10 guy. He's more of a top 15 guy ish, right? And I think I keep wanting to call him Cabana Boy, Kurbanov.
I think it's pronounced Kurbanov. I could be wrong.
Cabana Boy.
He looks small for the weight class, right?
He looks small for the weight class for sure. And I mean, he's a good fighter. I don't see anything top level about him. I think he's a guy that fights at the level. This is where he's at. He's going to fight at the Beefy Smith level. He's good at the European level, and when he fights world class fights, he's probably going to lose.
Liam Roscoe in the chat, my nemesis, just kidding, Liam, saying Tim Tszyu destroys both Smith and Kurbanov. Absolutely, yes. I think Tim Tszyu is a legit guy. Like, I think he's going to be a champion. I don't know what his ceiling is going to be per se, but he is definitely going to collect a belt at 154. Most likely after someone moves up, right? When Charlo moves up to 160 and vacates all those belts, I think Tszyu is going to pick up one of them. But digressing from that, let's get to the fights this weekend, Gary. Your boy, Brandon Figueroa, facing his toughest test to date, Louis Nery. Gary, your boy's going to get whooped and dog walked, and I cannot wait to watch it.
He's not going to lose. It's going to be a great fight, and it's going to be fireworks, but he's eventually going to wear him down and win. There's nothing that Nery can... I don't see Nery's path to victory. I see his path to making this a great fight. I don't see his path to victory in this fight. Like, it's a great fight. It's a high-level fight of the... It's not going to be fight of the year, this fight, because what we saw with Chocolatito and Estrada, but in a normal year, it could be a fight of the year candidate. Like, it's that good of a fight, but I don't see how Nery wins the fight.
It's going to be tough. It is, because Figueroa's activity, he's not, past his prime like Omar is. Like, we have to be honest about that. But he is extremely hittable. He's a guy that can only really fight one way that I've seen thus far.
Yeah, that's all he's ever... I mean, he's a Figueroa. Yeah. This is how he fights, right?
He's a Figueroa. Yeah, that's...
I mean...
if anyone can catch an extremely hittable Figueroa, back him up, hurt him, it's going to be Nery. Right? Like, if anyone in the division that has the power to do it, it's either going to be Nery or Akhmadiliev, right? Like, Fulton, while he's seen to have more aggression and power all of a sudden with the Leo fight, he doesn't have the power to stop and hurt Figueroa. He's going to have to outbox him, right? But there's two guys in the division that can definitely test the chin of Figueroa in ways we haven't seen yet, because we haven't seen it yet. And those two guys are Louis Nery or Akhmadiliev. I could see Figueroa coming in his unorthodox fashion, having really leaky defense, getting caught with some right hand, some left hook, something, and getting hurt and the fight changing. That doesn't seem out of the question or out of the realm of possibilities here, Gary. That seems distinctly likely. I think Figueroa's chin is going to be tested, and he's going to be hurt in this fight. Okay. Now, will he be able to recover? Will he be able to withstand that and keep working? Those are all questions that we should get answered here. And I'm excited for it. Like, I really am. And the winner of this fight, fighting Fulton next, like, that's already set in stone. I'm hyped for this. Like, 122, just 2 or 3 years ago, was a nothing division.
Now it's
And now all of a sudden it has a lot of hype, has a lot of depth, a lot of great sort of combinations of matchups we can have. I'm really excited and looking forward to this main event. Gary, I mean, any other thoughts on your boy Brandon Figueroa?
no. I mean, Brandon's gonna win. I think it probably goes the distance because unless Nery quits, a la Billy Joe Saunders, because it's just too much warfare. But I can't see Nery quitting, so I think it goes the distance. And I think Figueroa wins a wide points decision, and a really, 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 really entertaining fight, like a really fan-friendly, television-friendly fight.
Also on the card, I believe is Daniel Roman versus who's he fighting? Ricardo Franco, and Xavier Martinez versus Abraham Montoya is all that's on the card so far.
Xavier Martinez is a really good prospect. He's a Mayweather guy. He did not look so great in his last outing where he had a tough fight but got through it. So I think Martinez needs to look good here. Like, I think this is a big fight for Xavier Martinez if he wants to stay. Is it 130 or 135? It's 130, right?
Yes, 130.
I mean, 130 isn't the greatest division. Obviously, Shakur's there. But, I mean, Chris Colbert's the other name there. I don't think he's going to on the PBC side. I don't think that's a great.
Gervonta Davis.
I say, yeah, I guess because he's fighting at 140 now, but you're right. He is a 130 pounder. Yeah.
I mean, is he staying at 140? Those are questions.
I don't think. Yeah.
I have no idea what they're going to do with that guy. Also this weekend, Terry Harper versus Juan Mai Choi, Joshua Buatsi versus the dreaded TBA, Lerone Richards versus Giovanni D. Cardis, Tommy McCarthy, Gamel Yafai, Dalton Smith, Rob's boy, the best prospect in the UK, as Rob says, on this card. And that is it for fights this weekend, Gary. Any other thoughts?
Not really. That's not a great card. That's a Saturday or Friday card.
That's Saturday, but it's obviously gonna be a midday card.
Yeah. All right. No, I mean, you like that card? It's okay. It doesn't really.
It's all right. It's an all right, like next gen sort of style card.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I figured it was a Friday card, but it's a Saturday card.
It's definitely not the card of the weekend. That's for sure.
No.
But again, like the PBC card's only it's main event heavy.
It's
You got Danny Roman against a nobody, Xavier Martinez versus a nobody. Two guys that we like, but the fights aren't anything significant. The main event's great though. Like that main event is really the crown jewel of this upcoming weekends of fights. I do believe there's a UFC pay-per-view this weekend as well, but I think it's Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler, and that's a shitty pay-per-view main event. So it's curious to see where the combat sports eyes go this weekend. Gary, I think the only part of news we have to cover is probably the pay-per-view buy rate of the Andy Ruiz Arreola fight, which was a number was announced by Mike Coppinger, right? It was Mike Coppinger. I think it was 135,000.
It was a 125 confirmed. They said it would probably try to upward to almost 150. So 135 is probably a fair number to use.
Thoughts on that number? I mean, definitely.
I thought it was going to
under your estimate, kind of around where I estimate it to be. Your thoughts?
I was totally disappointed with that number. I thought it was going to do a much, but double that. Really, I thought it was going to do double that number. 135 is kind of the baseline for anyone not named Terrence Crawford. He still beat Crawford. All right, he did what Crawford and Khan did. He did better than Crawford Postal. I just thought the matchup, Ruiz I thought was a bigger star. Especially with the Mexican American fan base. I guess it's been a long layoff. His last outing against Joshua was not good. He obviously didn't take it seriously. But then Arreola, I think, is a great B-side. Like, people like Arreola. Like, he's obviously entertaining. I just thought it was the right matchup it was going to do. I thought Ruiz was a bigger star. I thought it was going to do better than it did. I was upset by that number. Although I think it's good because maybe they will put it. I paid for it. I don't know. Not too many of the rest of y'all paid for it.
I didn't.
So maybe that's why. The undercard wasn't great. You had Figueroa and Ramos, which is a hardcore fight, right? But it doesn't appeal to anyone who's not a hardcore. It's like, there aren't casual fans saying, "Hey guys, The Omar Figueroa fight against Abel Ramos is tomorrow. Like, no one says that.
No, I think that the number did exactly what I expected. There wasn't a lot of marketing for this fight. The main event was not a non-title fight. Andy Reeves kind of carried the card, I think, by his own star power, to be quite honest. Arreola is not a commodity anymore in 2021. In 2004, he was. In 2005, he was. I don't want to tell you what's happening behind me. Oh, my God. I just think that this was a card heavily carried by one person. And that one person is not the A side of the division. You know what I mean? Like, Andy Reid is kind of like the Miguel Cotto or the Triple G in terms of star power of this division, meaning that there are other guys, comparative to those people, that were bigger than them, right? Like, Cotto wasn't bigger than Pacquiao, Marquez, or Mayweather, right? But he was still a draw, right? Triple G was not a bigger draw than Miguel Cotto or Canelo or maybe even Andre Ward to a degree. But he was still a draw, and he still provided a lot of business. I think Andy Reid is kind of that guy for the heavyweight mix. AJ, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, those guys are the A sides. Because whenever Andy Reid fights those guys, he's never going to be the A side with them. He's always going to be the B side with those top three. So his star power, while decent, it's going to be limited. It's going to be that, mid-level pay-per-view draw.
I just thought that his demographic, his natural market in California, in Southern California, with Mexican Americans. Because I remember when he knocked out Joshua, I was walking around the mall with my wife, and I saw like two people wearing Andy Ruiz shirts with the A with the King's crown on it. And it's like, you don't really see people wearing boxing shirts unless it's Canelo, right? And then Ruiz had like a fan base. I was like, I think he's a bigger star than maybe we're giving him credit for. And obviously, look, the number given his opponent isn't the worst thing in the world. I just thought it was going to do quite a bit better. Think
about him versus Deontay Wilder. Like, that would be a massive pay-per-view. Yeah. But Ruiz versus Arreola is not a pay-per-view fight. That was a TV fight. Like, I still believe 110% that fight was on Fox. It would have done 4 million plus views on average. It would have done a monster rating.
Was it up against anything? Was it up? It was UFC on, or was there something else on? I mean, I don't think there's anything on like basketball that would have competed against. Was there UFC on?
I don't think that was the Kamaru Usman fight. I don't think so. I think regardless, it would have done a great rating on Fox. Like, let's just be honest about it. But anyways, Gary,
you want to get into the real quick? Oscar De La Hoya saying that he's exploring a deal to take all of his DAZN fighters to Triller.
All right, let's talk about that. I wonder how much of that is like DAZN pushing Oscar out and Oscar trying to get ahead of it. No, I broke up with her. She didn't break up with me. I broke up with her. That to me, that kind of feels like what this is with Oscar wanting to take all of his fighters from DAZN, because DAZN has clearly not been interested in investing into Golden Boy anymore. Canelo, yes. Eddie Hearn, yes. They're definitely going to invest heavily in the UK market, it looks like. But the US market is an afterthought. Golden Boy, an afterthought. It feels like it's one of those where, DAZN was pushing this first, and again, Oscar's trying to get ahead of the potential narrative out there. Gary, your thoughts?
I think it's actually in the better interest of Oscar to go with Triller because they pay big bucks. Clearly. I don't. Matt could be right. I mean, look, DAZN doesn't seem to love Golden Boy. It's kind of an afterthought to them. He does have Ryan Garcia, who's a star, Virgil Ortiz, who's the best young fighter in the world. And then he's got Munguia, who's a regional sign. We laugh at Munguia, but I went to his fight at San Antonio. He sold 15,000 tickets. The crowd was electric. Like, Munguia, as flawed as he is, and I don't think he'll ever hold a legitimate world title ever again at 160 or above, he's a fun fighter, right? Like, his fights are fun. So I think he's got regional stardom. And then you have, Virgil Ortiz and Ryan Garcia, who's the star. So, they have some chips. It's not a lot. It's not what they used to have, obviously. but it's not like they have nothing. And I think sending Ryan and Virgil to Triller might work out best for them because they're going to get paid. They're going to be with someone who has more. Like Oscar's not really interested in promoting. Maybe Triller will move the ball with them because the zone was. I think this could be a win-win for both. Like the zone obviously doesn't care about Golden Boy, right?
Mhm.
Like they don't. Whatever, they don't. And Oscar is unmotivated, so maybe Triller will want to make these two guys. Well, Ryan Garcia is already a star. Maybe they'll want to maximize Ryan Garcia and eventually get Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo Lopez, and then make Virgil Ortiz the story he should be.
I think the reality is that certain fighters are going to be working in that model, the Triller model. Ryan Garcia, for example, works in that model. Ortiz, not so much. Golden Boy's other stable, the other, dozen people, I guess, whatever. Not so much. They're not Triller.
Those guys are throw-ins. Really, you know what I'm saying? Those guys are throw-ins. But
imagine
really,
I think guys like Ortiz, guys like Hector Tenahara, for example, they benefit from, I think, a more traditional style of a network. Okay, this sort of hybrid, sort of, let's say like the Gen Z style promoting, right? Like, I don't think those guys work in that model. I think they would work more on the ESPN model or the Fox model or the Showtime model. But the Triller model, I don't think that works for them. And while you're right that Triller would definitely probably offer more money to Golden Boy right now, that's short money. And we know, Gary, that the second that they move over there will be buyer's remorse, just like with the zone. Because they're thinking they're getting X, Y, and Z because Oscar's telling them they're getting X, Y, and Z. And they only ever get X. Right?
Yeah.
Like the zone was out there saying we want Oscar to face Canelo in a fight. We want Canelo to face Khabib Nurmagomedov in the UFC. You don't think Triller's going to be wanting that stupid shit too? Like, I think that, yes, it's more money, but is it actually going to be beneficial for your fighters long term? Because a lot of your fighters are young. We're not looking about short money for these young guys. We're looking about long-term investments for these young guys. And this doesn't seem it. The zone doesn't seem it either, to be quite honest. But neither does Triller.
No, it is short money, right? It's within all right. So if you're a Triller and you can get within the next 12 to 24 months Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo Lopez, that's huge for you. And on the other side, if you can, what?
If I'm Triller, I want that fight.
If you can get Virgil Ortiz versus Terrence Crawford on your side, I mean, you want Virgil to win because he's younger, but you have that mega fight. That's a great fight on your side. You know what I'm saying? I see why they would want Golden Boy short term. Again, it's all short term. I don't think there's any long term plan for Golden Boys. Like they have Ryan Garcia and I have Teofimo Lopez on my side already. I can make that fight. That's a huge fight. And then Terrence Crawford, I have Virgil Ortiz, who I can turn into big fights a year from now. But I don't think this plan has anything. I don't think this is like a big picture thing. I think it's what can I do with this in 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It seems like, a cash grab in the same way that the zone was for Golden Boy. Like we're leaving HBO, we're going to the zone. Why? Because they're offering us a lot of money. It's a new platform. We have no idea if it's going to work. We have no idea if it's going to work for our stars, but we're going to try it. It seems like the same thing is happening here in some fashion. It seems like Golden Boy is repeating certain mistakes as a company, as a promotional entity. But regardless, Gary, any other thoughts on that?
I'm still going to hold my thoughts out on Triller until they have a real boxing card, which they're going to have in the near future. And I want to see how that telecast looks. I want to see if it's a boxing telecast or a sideshow telecast, right? Like, is it? And then I'll have more to say about what, like they obviously have some level of commitment towards boxing. Now we're going to see if it's a boxing telecast or an entertainment, professional wrestling type telecast like their other fights. But I'm going to save my judgment until then. And also, Felix Verdejo was indicted.
Oh, he was?
Yes.
Marcos in the chat is saying, isn't Tio still a top-ranked fighter, so they don't have Tio unless Tio can get out of his contract with top rank? I don't know the particulars of that right now. I'll be honest.
Tio said they locked him out. He's not allowed in anymore. Like they locked him out. Is he still on the Top Rank website? That would be interesting. I don't know the answer to that.
That is something we could easily look up right now. But are we?
Could someone in the chat look up to see if Teofimo Lopez is still on their website as a Top Rank fighter?
Oh, I can look up right now. Come on,
I mean, the way they've mishandled Teofimo, which me and Matt have been saying for over a year now, is the next star. The way they've mishandled him, the way they've mishandled Shakur Stevenson is awesome. I mean, it is phenomenal how bad they are promoting fighters.
The reality is, by the way, Teofimo Lopez is still on the website.
Okay.
Yep. There you go. So he's still a top-ranked fighter.
Is Felix Verdejo still on the website?
I just exit out of it, Gary.
No, they said they took him down. They haven't cut him out of his contract yet, but he's no longer on the website.
It's going to be really sad going through that entire process with Verdejo's trial. The more and more you hear about what happened there, the more horrific it is still. It's awful. But unfortunately, guys, we have to head out of here. Gary, let the people know where to find you.
Find me all from social media, 3D Boxing. Guys, please like and subscribe to my new channel, Texas Boxing Scene. This interviews, content, updates on all boxing news that is Texas. Also, all the proceeds, every dime of that channel is going to go to autism research and recovery. So, guys, please help me get this monetized. Even if you hate me and you hate my channel, think about the children. The children. Please subscribe to Texas Boxing Scene. It is May 10th. Ivan Calderon is still not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Let's make that change. Texas is still not a country. Let's make Texas a country again. Matt, when will we be back? Midweek, later in the week?
If there's a lot of news, we'll be back this week. If there's not any news, if it's a slow news week, we'll be back next Monday, most likely. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you want to support the channel in any financial way, patreon.com/Trending Now Network, Cash App, Trending Now Network, all that fun shit. And obviously find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all social media platforms. And remember, at all times, fuck the police. And especially what's happening right now, free Palestine. Have a great day, great evening, and a great night. Peace.